Welcome to this deep dive, tailored just for you, the UPSC aspirant. We're digging into a stack of your sources, pulling out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight. Think of this as your shortcut to getting up to speed on the current affairs from May 29th, 2025, Part 1. We've got quite a range of topics today. Some might even be a quick revision of things we've touched on before. Our mission, to help you really grasp what's important in this material.
Absolutely. We'll unpack the details, connect some dots, and really explore why these developments matter for, your overall understanding and preparation.
All right, let's get into this stack. And hey, if you find this deep dive valuable, please do remember to like and subscribe. Okay, so kicking things off with some news from the Ministry of Defense. Looks like there's a finalization of a procurement order for 500 Invar anti-tank guided missiles from BDL.
Yes, and the value is quite substantial, potentially Rs 2,000, 3,000 crore.
That definitely highlights the ongoing focus on modernizing defense capabilities.
Yeah, it certainly does.
So when we talk about the Invar missile, what exactly is it?
Well, basically, it's an anti-tank guided missile. It's designed specifically to be launched from a tank.
From the tank itself?
Yes, fired right from the barrel of the T-90 tanks, which, are actively deployed by Indian forces.
Interesting. What makes it particularly stand out? What are its strengths?
It's known for long-range precision strike capability. And importantly, it can neutralize tanks that are fitted with explosive reactive armor protection.
That ERA protection is key.
It is. And while it was originally developed by Rosaboron Export of Russia, it's produced under license here in India by Farad Dynamics Limited.
BDL. That license production is always a key factor, isn't it?
Absolutely. Self-reliance is a major theme.
Okay, so tell us a bit about its features.
Right. It uses a semi-automatic control system, it's laser beam rating, and crucially, it's jamming immune. It also features a tandem warhead.
Tandem warhead for defeating advanced armor.
Exactly. And it can hit both stationary targets and ones moving up to 70 kilometers per hour. High hit and kill probability is what they claim.
Got it. And the specifics like range, size.
Sure. The missile is 695 millimeters long with a throwing device of 395 millimeter. Caliber is 125 millimeter. Maximum range is 5 kilometers, with a flight time of about 17.6 seconds to get there.
And weight?
The missile itself is 17.2 kilograms, and the throwing device adds another 7.1 kilograms. What's fascinating here is really understanding how these technical specs translate into actual tactical advantages on the battlefield, specifically for anti-tank ops.
Okay, good point. Let's switch gears now to the economy. There's news about the RoDTEP scheme. Benefits being restored for advanced authorization holders, EOUs, and SEZ units.
Yes, that's quite a significant move for exporters. The RoDTEP scheme itself, remission of duties and taxes on exported products, has been in effect since January 1st, 2021. Came in via an amendment to the foreign trade policy.
Right, and its main purpose, what's it trying to achieve?
Its primary goal is to offset those embedded taxes and duties, things incurred on exported goods that aren't credited or refunded under any other scheme. Think central, state, local level taxes. It replaced the old AIM-UI scheme.
The MEIS replace, yeah, that might ring a bell for some listeners, possibly a revision point. Why did it replace MEIS again?
Well, that change was enforced after the U.S. challenged India's export subsidies, including MEIS as the WTO. So RoDTEP was designed specifically to be compliant with WTO norms.
Okay, makes sense. So how does the tax reimbursement actually work for exporters?
It reimburses those taxes, duties, and levies incurred during the manufacturing and distribution, including those prior stage cumulative indirect taxes.
And how is the benefit calculated?
It's given as a percentage of the FOB, the free on-board value of the exports.
Right. Who's eligible to claim this?
Well, most sectors involved in export are eligible. It doesn't matter about turnover size. The key condition is that the goods manufacturing country has to be India.
So both merchant and manufacturer exporters?
Yes, if they export directly. Labor-intensive sectors are eligible. SEZ units, EOUs are too. And interestingly, even goods exported via e-commerce platforms can qualify.
What about re-exported products, if I import something and send it out again?
No, those are explicitly not eligible. The country of origin must be India. Now, how do exporters actually receive this benefit? That's quite interesting.
Good question. How does it work?
Rebates are provided as transferable e-scripts. Think of them as electronic certificates with a monetary value, maintained by the CBIC, the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs.
E-scripts, so they can use them for?
They can use these e-scripts to pay basic customs duty on their future imports, or they can actually transfer them to another party. What's fascinating here is the reliance on a comprehensive end-to-end digital platform. It really aims for transparency and efficiency in this whole reimbursement mechanism. It's a key part of the trade infrastructure now.
Okay. Moving to law and order. The Supreme Court made a clarification recently regarding arrests, specifically arrests made with warrants.
Yes, they clarified that when an arrest is made with a warrant, there's no need for a separate communication of the grounds for arrest. The warrant itself serves that purpose.
Okay, so let's just quickly unpack what a warrant of arrest actually is.
Sure, it's basically a written order from a judge or magistrate. It has to be supported by a sworn affidavit, and it authorizes the police to arrest and take someone into custody for a specific offense.
So if a police officer has this warrant, what are their obligations when executing it?
Well, the officer must notify the person being arrested of the substance of the warrant, the key details, and if the person asks to see it, the officer has to show them the warrant.
And then?
Then they must bring the individual before the court promptly without any unnecessary delay. That's crucial. Now, this brings up an important point. What actually makes a warrant legally valid?
Right. The source lists several essentials. It absolutely must be in writing. It needs to be signed by the presiding officer of the court. It must bear the official seal of the court.
Okay.
And it has to contain the full name and address of the accused person and clearly state the offense they are accused of. If any of these are missing, the warrant isn't in order and the arrest would be illegal.
Got it. And we hear about different kinds like bailable and non-bailable.
Yes, exactly. A bailable warrant has a specific direction on it, allowing release if the person provides sufficient sureties, basically a guarantee for their court attendance. It specifies the number of sureties, the bond amount, and the time they need to attend court.
And non-bailable.
A non-bailable warrant simply doesn't have that direction for bail endorsed on it. Release isn't automatic upon providing surety.
Okay. So that's arrests with a warrant. What about arrests without a warrant? When is that permissible?
Well, a police officer can arrest without a warrant for what's called a cognizable offense, if there's reasonable suspicion. For non-cognizable offenses, they generally need a warrant from a magistrate first.
Are there other specific situations allowing arrest without a warrant?
Yes, the source lists quite a few. Things like having probable cause, actually witnessing the crime happen, someone fleeing a crime scene.
Escaping custody.
Yes. Escaping from lawful custody, violating probation or parole conditions, failing to comply with a court order or summons. Also, if there's an immediate threat to public safety or a risk that evidence might be destroyed or the suspect might escape.
What's fascinating here is seeing that balance. Empowering law enforcement on one hand, but protecting individual liberties through very specific legal requirements for arrest on the other, it really underscores the principle of due process.
Definitely. All right, turning to geography. Sadly, a tragic incident involving the Ghaggar River near Panchkula brought it into the news recently.
Yes, the Ghaggar itself is an interesting river. It's intermittent, meaning it mostly flows only during the monsoon season, and it flows in both India and Pakistan.
Can you trace its course for us? Where does it start and end?
It rises up in the Shivalik Range in northwestern Himachal Pradesh, then it flows down through parts of Haryana, and eventually it kind of disappears into the Thar Desert over in Rajasthan. It does feed 2 irrigation canals there.
And you mentioned Pakistan. It connects to a river there.
That's right. The Ghaggar River in Pakistan is generally considered its continuation. So together they're often referred to as the Ghaggar-Hakra River system.
Now, this river has some pretty significant historical connections, doesn't it? This might be another point we've touched on before.
Absolutely. It's quite central to some big historical debates. Several historians identified the Ghaggar with the ancient Vedic Saraswati River.
The Saraswati, right?
And many important Indus Valley civilization settlements have been excavated along its banks. This has led to the belief, or theory, that these ancient settlements might have been creations of the Vedic Aryans.
Interesting. And there's a connection to other major rivers, too.
Yes, there's also a widely held belief, supported by some evidence, that the Sutlej and Yamuna rivers actually once flowed into the Ghaggar-Hakra riverbed in ancient times.
Wow. What are its main tributaries today?
The main ones feeding into the Ghaggar are the Kaushalya, the Markanda, the Sarsuti, the Tongri, and the Shotang. What's really fascinating here is how this seemingly seasonal river holds such deep historical and cultural weight, potentially linking back to foundational aspects of Indian civilization. Geography meeting history.
From rivers to the skies, those intense storms that hit Delhi recently, the technical term used was bow echoes.
That's right. A bow echo, well, it's essentially a line of storms, a squall line, that appears on radar looking like an archer's bow, hence the name.
Okay. How large are they usually?
They can be quite expensive, stretching anywhere from, say, 20 to 100 kilometers long, and they typically last between 3 and 6 hours.
Who actually coined that term? It's very visual.
The term came from Ted Fujita back in the 1970s. He was a famous meteorologist, perhaps best known for developing the F-scale for classifying tornadoes.
Ah, Fujita. Okay, so how do these bow shapes form? What's the mechanism?
It starts when rain cools the air beneath a thunderstorm. This cool air descends, hits the ground, and spreads out, creating a boundary called a gust front.
Like a mini cold front.
Exactly. This gust front pushes the warm, moist air ahead of it upwards very rapidly. This upward push triggers new thunderstorms along the front. These new storms then produce more rain, more cool air, which reinforces the gust front.
So it's a cycle.
Yes, it's a self-sustaining cycle. As this repeats, you get this strong inflow of air on the trailing side of the storm line, and that bends the line of storms forward in the middle, creating that distinctive burr shape on radar.
And that keeps it going.
Right. The process continues as long as new thunderstorms keep forming at the front, driving the whole system forward, often with very strong winds right at the leading edge.
Have we seen these over Delhi before then? They're not totally new.
No, definitely not new. We saw a bow echo form over Delhi and Noida back in 2022, actually. That one was a bit shorter lived, maybe about an hour, but it still produced some pretty strong winds, up to 100 km per. What's fascinating from a scientific view is that self-sustaining cycle, the convection and outflow creating this powerful, organized storm structure, helps understand severe weather.
All right, let's move to something a bit more culinary and cultural. Rajasthan's famous dish, Ker Sangri, recently got a geographical indication tag, a GI tag.
Yes, a well-deserved recognition. Ker Sangri is truly a Rajasthani delicacy. It's made from sangri pods, which come from the very hardy ketri tree, and ker berries from the ker tree. Both plants are native to the tough, arid conditions of the Thar Desert.
Sounds like it's really born from that environment. How is it prepared?
It's actually a careful, slow process. The raw ker berries are quite bitter naturally.
Oh, right.
Yes, so they need soaking, then boiling, and then they're cooked together with the sangri pods, usually with curd, red chilies, and various spices. The end result is this really distinctive, tangy, spicy dish with a unique, earthy flavor.
Is it just tasty, or is it considered healthy too?
It's definitely both. It's known for being high in fiber, low in fat, and quite rich in nutrients. Traditionally, people eat it with bajra roti and some ghee, which makes it very filling. And what's really fascinating culturally is the connection to the kedri tree. The sangri bean grows on this tree, which is considered sacred in Rajasthan.
Sacred?
Yes, especially by the Bishnoi community. They have protected this tree for centuries, viewing it as a vital symbol of life in the desert. It adds another layer of significance.
And it got that GI tag. Can you just remind us what that signifies?
Sure. A GI tag is basically a sign used for products that have a specific geographical origin. And importantly, they possess qualities or a reputation that are directly linked to that origin. It's used for all sorts of products, agricultural ones like Ker Sangri, handicrafts, and manufactured goods.
And how is this regulated in India?
In India, it's governed by the Geographical Indications of Goods, Registration and Protection Act, 1999. Once granted, a GI tag is valid for 10 years, and then it can be renewed. So this raises the question, why does a GI tag matter? Well, it's really about protecting the identity, the quality, and the heritage of these products tied to specific regions. And, of course, providing potential economic benefits to the local producers.
Got it. Okay, let's shift now to marine conservation. May 28th was celebrated as World Dugong Day.
Yes, highlighting the plight of the dugong, which is also known quite affectionately as the sea cow. They're unique in India's marine ecosystems. They're the only strictly herbivorous mammals found there.
The only herbivorous marine mammal, often called sea cows, but they sound quite distinct.
They do. They sort of resemble a cross between maybe a seal and a whale. They're found across the Indo-Pacific region, generally in warmer waters, and they can live quite long, up to 70 years.
Where specifically do we find them along the Indian coastline?
Primarily in the warm waters around the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, down in the Gulf of Mannar, Pak Bay, and also up in the Gulf of Kutch. And this distribution raises an important question. Why are they restricted mainly to these shallow coastal waters?
Right. The sources tell us it's because of their complete dependence on seagrass beds. That's both their habitat and their only food source. They spend their days basically grazing on specific types of seagrass, like Sambadocia, Halophila, Thalassia, and Helugel.
And their reproductive cycle is quite slow, isn't it? That impacts their recovery.
It does. They mature relatively late, after 9 or 10 years, and then they only calve every 3 to 5 years. That leads to a maximum potential population growth rate of only about 5% per year. Very slow.
Given that slow rate, what's their conservation status currently?
They are listed as vulnerable by the IUCN globally. Appendix I by CITES, meaning highest protection against international trade, and under Schedule 1 of India's Wildlife Protection Act, 1972, which is the highest level of legal protection within India.
So highly protected. What are the main threats they continue to face?
Worldwide, the main threats are, well, rapidly declining populations overall, and the ongoing degradation and loss of those crucial seagrass habitats they depend on.
You know, what's fascinating here is seeing that direct link. The survival of this unique mammal is completely tied to the health of specific marine ecosystems, the seagrass beds. It really highlights the interconnectedness of species and habitat conservation. This might be a theme we've seen before in environmental discussions.
Absolutely. Okay, back to physical geography, but with a cultural angle. The Sikkim chief minister recently urged the center to restrict mountaineering on Mount Khangchendzonga. It's regarded as sacred by the state's people.
Yes, this mountain holds immense significance. Mount Khangchendzonga, also widely known as Khangchendzonga, is the highest peak in India, and it's the world's third highest mountain, after only Everest and K2.
Where exactly is it located?
It sits right in the eastern Himalayas, on the border between Sikkim state in India and eastern Nepal. It's about 74 kilometers north-northwest of Darjeeling, part of the Great Himalaya Range. Elevation is 28,169 feet, or 8,586 meters.
And the name itself, Khangchendzonga, has a fascinating meaning, right?
It does. It's often translated as 5 treasuries, likely referring to its 5 main peaks.
Could you tell us a bit about its physical features, the mountain itself?
Sure. It has 4 main ridges extending out north, east, south, and west. Between these ridges lie 4 major glaciers. The Zimu to the northeast, the Talung to the southeast, the Yalung to the southwest, and the Khangchendzonga Glacier to the northwest.
Does it receive a lot of snow?
Yes, the mountain and its glaciers get heavy snow during the summer monsoon season and then lighter snowfall during the winter months.
Is there a protected area nearby?
Yes, on the eastern side, in Sikkim, lies the Khangchendzonga National Park. It's a large mountain wilderness area known for its diverse range of animal species.
And who was the first to successfully climb it?
That was a British expedition led by Charles Evans back in 1955. They made the first successful ascent via the southwest face. What's really fascinating about this news is the tension it highlights, the physical challenge and the allure of mountaineering on one hand, versus the profound sacred status the mountain holds for local communities on the other. That request from the chief minister really brings that conflict into focus.
Absolutely. Okay, switching gears completely now to the world of science and recognition. The 2025 Breakthrough Prize in Fundamental Physics was awarded. It went to 4 big collaborations at CERN's Large Hadron Collider at ALICE, CMS, ALICE, and LHCb.
And importantly, it was noted that Indian scientists played a key role in the success of 2 of those experiments, ALICE and CMS.
That's great to hear. So let's just clarify what the breakthrough prizes are. They're sometimes called the Oscars of science, right?
That's a popular nickname, yes. They honor significant, primarily recent achievements in 3 main areas. Life sciences, which includes specific prizes for Parkinson's and neurodegenerative disorders, fundamental physics, and mathematics.
And who founded them?
They were founded back in 2013 by some very prominent figures. Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan, Sergey Brin and Ann Wojcicki, and Yuri and Julia Milner.
What's their stated mission or goal?
The mission is really to celebrate scientists and their achievements, and by doing so, hopefully inspire future generations to pursue science. They operate globally and are non-political.
And the prize money is quite substantial.
It is. Each breakthrough prize carries a monetary award of $3 million. That's significantly higher than, say, the Nobel Prize amount.
How are the winners actually selected?
There are selection committees made up of previous breakthrough prize laureates. They choose the winners from candidates who are nominated through an online process that's actually open to the public. And an interesting point, can someone win more than once? Yes, they can. If laureates make new discoveries, they remain eligible for future prizes.
So you could win again?
Potentially, yes. What's fascinating here, I think, is the focus on celebrating scientific achievement on this very large public stage. The aim seems to be giving scientists recognition similar to other fields and maybe, just maybe, inspiring a new generation through that visibility.
A laudable goal.
Yeah.
Finally, let's look at some incredible Indian art forms. There was recent news about a group of artists visiting the President of India, part of the Artist in Residence program.
Yes, and this highlighted two distinct and really beautiful folk art traditions, Gond painting and Madhubani painting.
Let's start with Gond painting. Tell us about it.
Okay. Gond painting is a famous folk art of the Gond tribal community. They are primarily found in central India across states like Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh.
What themes does Gond art typically feature? What do they paint?
The themes are very connected to nature and their surroundings. You'll see forests, vibrant animals, birds and celestial bodies, sun, moon, stars. Mythological stories also feature deities like Bhima and Parvati, and various mythical creatures appear too. Gond artists traditionally use natural materials, charcoal, colored soil, plant sap. These are applied usually on mud walls, but also on cloth or paper, often using simple tools like twigs or leaves. What's fascinating and quite distinctive is that each artist uses their own unique pattern, like dots or fine lines, to fill the images. It's almost like a signature style.
That individual pattern sounds really interesting. Okay, now Madhubani painting.
Madhubani painting originated in the Mithila region of Bihar, and traditionally it was primarily created by women in that region. It's sometimes also just called Mithila art.
What are its common themes?
It often depicts Hindu mythology, stories from the Ramayana, and scenes from daily life in India. You'll frequently see deities like Krishna, Durga, Saraswati alongside festival scenes, weddings, things like that. The art often carries symbolic messages too, relating to fertility, good luck, auspiciousness. Historically, it was done on mud walls and cloth. Now, of course, you see it much more on paper and canvas. The artists use natural pigments, things like turmeric for yellow, lampliac for black, even cow dung sometimes. What stands out to you visually about its style?
Well, the source mentioned very precise line work, this technique of double outlining the figures, and intricate geometric patterns filling the spaces. It sounds incredibly detailed.
Exactly. That detailed, intricate style is very characteristic. What's fascinating about both Gond and Madhubani is seeing how these vibrant traditional art forms continue, using natural materials and carrying forward cultural narratives and symbolism through generations of artists, really important parts of India's heritage.
Wow, what a deep dive that was. From anti-tank missiles and trade policy all the way to ancient rivers, powerful storm formations, traditional art, GI tags, endangered sea cows, and major scientific awards.
We've really seen how diverse aspects of India and the world intersect, haven't we? Technology and defense, economy and trade, law and rights, geography and history, culture and conservation, science and recognition, it's all connected.
Understanding these individual pieces really helps build that more complete picture of the, well, complex world we live in.
Exactly. It's not just about memorizing isolated facts, but seeing the connections, understanding the significance, and thinking about the implications of these developments.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Each of these topics offers a window into current events that are relevant to the UPSC syllabus, touching on polity, economy, geography, environment, S&T, culture. Keep exploring how they fit into that bigger picture. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the current affairs for May 29th, 2025, Part 1. We really hope it gave you some valuable nuggets.
Absolutely. Keep up the learning journey.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, if you found it helpful, please do take a moment to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.